Hello, and welcome to 5 Minute Math. Today we are looking at the fifth grade concept of dividing whole numbers and unit fractions. This is 5.3L Readiness Practice, the advanced version. If you are interested in exploring the intermediate or proficient versions of 5.3L or the Readiness Practice resource line with any other standard, you can find those by using the link in the video description. So we have a gardener with 6 gallons of water, and he uses them for flower beds. We have a third of a bag of fertilizer and wants to use them among vegetable patches. So we need to figure out how many flower beds and what fraction of each original fertilizer bag can be used. So really, it's two problems kind of stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to use, for my flower beds, I'll use a green right here. So I've got 6 gallons of water, and each gallon of water uses or each flower bed uses a quarter of a gallon, 1/4 of a gallon. So I'm just going to draw 6 gallons like this. And we could do it with an equation as well, but I always like to show it with some type of visual if possible. So this represents my 6 gallons. So I'm just going to put that right here, 6 gallons. And then each gallon uses 1/4 or each fertile flower bed uses 1/4. So I'm just going to cut it in fourth like this. So if these gallons could be represented by these rectangles, you see out of each rectangle I can get 4, right? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. What I did is I took my 6 and I divided it by 1/4. Now, another way to visualize that would be 6, and then we take the division, and we can think of dividing by 1/4 as the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Since division and multiplication are inverse operations, right, you can do one to undo the other. So the opposite of dividing is multiplying, and if you're going to do the opposite, you could take your 4/1 or your 1/4, and you can flip it upside down. It becomes 4/1. 4 ones is 4 wholes, so what we'll typically do is we'll just call that 6 times 4. Either way, we'll see that it equals 24. So we can uh, water 24 flower beds. Okay, and so let's go ahead and put that here. So he can water 24 flower beds. And let's give ourselves a little bit of space now. We're going to use the fertilizer, and we'll use orange for that. Now, that one's slightly different. He has a third of a bag of fertilizer and wants to evenly distribute it among 2 vegetable patches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a third right here. So I'm going to draw a rectangle, right? So, and I'm going to get a third like this. I'm going to cut it into 3 parts. I'm going to shade in this one right here. Now there are 2 vegetable patches. So what I want to do is I want to take my third and I'll cut it in half. And then here's my question. If I've got a third of the bag and I want to distribute it among 2 vegetable patches, how much does each vegetable patch get? Well, I took my third and I cut it into 2 equal parts, and now each of these are 1/6. Because what I did here was I took my 1/3 and I divided it by 2, and it's the same as taking your 1/3. Remember, we can do the inverse. Now, 2 is really 2/1, so I'm going to flip it upside down. That's going to be 1/2. So 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6. And then he uses 1/6 of a bag on each vegetable patch. All right, so that is going to work. Let's make sure that we've answered all of our questions. Yes, the flower beds and the fertilizer bag on the vegetable patch. There we go. So next, we've got a 5-foot long rope. He needs to cut into pieces that are each 1/4 of a foot long. Then he gives half the pieces to his friend. How much does he keep for himself? All right, so let's take a long rectangle here. This is going to represent our rope. And what I want to do here is I want to first cut it into 5 feet. All right, so this is a 5-foot long rope, and so I'm just going to cut it like this, and I'm just going to say 5 feet. And each of those little lines are going to represent 1 foot. Now, each of these feet here are going to be cut into 1/4 pieces. So let's do that. So that's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to cut it in half and cut each half in half. I get a half and then quarters, half and then quarters. Now, I need to count how many pieces I've got. I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So what I did was I took my 5. First, I divided it into 1/5 pieces, right? I took my 5 and I divided it into 1/5 pieces. And then, right, I took each of those and then I divided those by 1/4. So what that's going to do, those 5 pieces divided by 1/4, really that's the same as 5. We're going to do the inverse, multiply, and then 1/4. It's going to be 4/1. So really it's 5 times 4, and that is going to equal 20. So I've got 20 pieces. Now, he gives half the pieces to his friend. So now I've got to do another step. I've got to take this, what's half of 20? Half of 20 is going to be 10. So I'm going to do like this. So this is for David. And then I've got another 10 right here. This is David's friend. So if I want to put it as one long one, what I did was I did 5 divided by 1/4. That gets me 20. And then I divided that by 2. And that's going to get me 10. So David kept 10 pieces for himself. So we almost had to divide twice. Once by a fraction, and then once just by 2 to split the pieces in half. So we have a farmer, 7 acres of land, wants to divide the land into plots, each plot being 1/4. And then he wants to divide the plots equally among 6 children. But here's the question, how many plots are going to be left over? All right, so let's do this. Let's take just 7 rectangles. That's going to represent my 7 acres. So I'll do it like this here. I'll do 2 rows of 3, and then this is going to be my 7th acre right here. Now each acre is going to be 1/4. All right, so I'm just going to do it like this. So right now what I did is I took my 7, and I'm going to divide that by 1/4. Now remember, when we divide by 1/4, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, since they're inverse operations. So really that's the same as 7 times 4. So I've got 28 pieces of land. Now I need to divide that equally among 6 children. And as you know your multiplication facts, those don't go evenly. But the question is, how many pieces are going to be left over? So let's just count by 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 6 kids. Start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if he only had 6 acres of land, everything would have been perfect. He's got that 7th acre, can't really use it. Okay, so if I look for each kid, right, I see 1, 1, 1, 1. Each kid's going to get 4 acres, right? So we can say that here. Each child will receive, we don't really need to know this, but we'll go ahead and just put all the information in here. 4 acres. And here's the most important part. There will be 4 acres, that whole last acre, left over. Because what we did here was we took our 6 children, divided that into 28, And that's another way we could have done it. See, there's going to be remainder 4 left over. So if you are interested in exploring the 5.30 Readiness Practice Resource for intermediate or advanced version, or the Readiness Practice Resource line with any other standard, you can find those by using the link in the video description.